Hello all. Today my lecture on interference. In this topic, basically we will cover the behavior of interference, types of interference like constructive and destructive, what is the sustained interference, and also how you will get the experimentally interference, for example, Young double slit. So we will discuss also as a experimentally Young double slit. Now first we will discuss what is the interference. So interference is basically the combination of superposition of two waves or more waves. Two waves or more waves is known as a interference. It means that the superposition of the waves like that, further we can divide the interference in a two part. One part is known as a constructive interference, other part is known as a destructive interference. So we will discuss first what is the constructive interference. The one part is constructive interference and other one known as a destructive interference. In a constructive interference, basically crest of one wave overlaps to another crest of other waves. It means that suppose that we have a one wave like that, here also a one wave and another wave like that. You can see that crest, this is known as crest, this is a trough. Crest of one wave overlap crest of another wave, so the resultant amplitude is greater than of individual of one waves. Now in case of the destructive interference, in a destructive interference, the crest of one wave is overlapped to another trough of another wave. This is known as a destructive interference. In this case, the resultant amplitude is less than of individual wave. Here you can see that here like that is a one wave, see the crest, and another wave like that, this is a trough, overlap, you will get like that. The resultant amplitude will be less than of individual wave. Now in the next heading we will discuss the analytical analysis of interference. Analytical analysis of interference. Analytical analysis of interference. Basically in this case we will show what is the important points for analytical analysis of interference. Suppose all of you know that the equation of the progressive wave y is equal to a sine omega t minus kx. This term is known as a propagation term and this was known as the time period term. You can say angular frequency. A is the amplitude, y is the displacement of wave. You can see that this term is not much more important in this analysis. You can neglect it because we will take the resultant of all the wave at a point P, so that the position of all the wave will be same. So we can neglect this term. You can use, but you will write every step this term, so the calculation may be a large. So we can neglect for we can reduce our calculation. So now when you will neglect it, you will see that the equation A sine omega t, like that. Suppose we have according to definition of interference, we have two waves. Suppose one wave y1 have an amplitude a1 sine omega t, another wave y2 a2 sine omega t plus phi. Phi is the phase, because phase is very important in interference. Now when you will add up, you will take the resultant amplitude at a point P. What means that you will add up. When you will add up y is equal to y1 plus y2, then a1 sine omega t plus a2 sine omega t plus phi. You can write a1 sine omega t, a2 sine omega t cos phi plus a2 cos omega t and sin phi. You will take the common sine omega t in this term. You will get a1 plus a2 cos phi is sine omega t, and plus a2 sin phi is cos omega t. Suppose a1 plus a2 cos phi is equal to a cos theta, and a2 sin phi is equal to a sin theta. Let what will happen? The resultant wave, you can write a cos theta sin omega t plus a sin theta cos omega t. Also you can write a sin omega t plus theta. No, a is the resultant amplitude, theta is the resultant phase. How can you calculate the resultant amplitude? Now square of these two equations, square and add. Equation 1, let equation 2 square of equation 1 plus square of equation 2. First you will square, then add up with square of equation 2. You will see that this one and this one, a square common, cos square theta plus sin square theta, you will get a1 square plus a2 square cos square phi plus 2a1 a2 cos phi and plus a2 square sin square phi. You will take the common a1 plus a2 square cos square phi and sin square phi plus a1 2a1 a2 cos phi. This is trigonometry, you know, this value is 1. a1 square a2 square plus 2a1 a2 cos phi. This is the a square, because you know that this value is 1. It means that the resultant amplitude you can write here like that: a is equal to under root a1 square a2 square plus 2 A1 A2 cos phi. You can see that the amplitude is dependent on the phase and also individual amplitude. If the phase will be changes, the amplitude will be the resultant amplitude also will be changed. What about the resultant phase? The resultant phase you can calculate like that. Tan theta is equal to sin theta divided by cos theta. You know the value of the sin theta, a sin phi divided by a1 plus a2 cos phi. Then theta is equal to tan inverse a sin phi divided by a1 plus a2 cos phi. Now you can calculate the resultant phase and also resultant amplitude. Now, how the resultant amplitude is varies with phase? You can see that at cos phi is equal to plus 1, it means that phi is equal to 2 and pi. At this condition, you will get the maximum amplitude. A is maximum. You can write that A1 square, A2 square, 2A1, A2, because you know the cos phi is plus 1. So you will get now A1 square, sorry, A1 plus A2 ka whole square. It means that A1 plus A2. This is the maximum amplitude. You know that the relation between this is the phase difference. You know that the relation between the phase and phase and part difference, which is already discussed in a previous lecture. The phase is equal to 2 pi by lambda is equal to delta x, and delta x is the part difference, is known as delta phi is lambda divided by 2 pi. You know the delta phi value of delta phi is 2 and pi, lambda divided by 2 pi. Now pi is cancelled out, 2 is cancelled out, you know the n lambda. It means that when phase is equal to 2 n pi or the part difference is equal to n lambda, it means that you will get the resultant amplitude is maximum. What are meaning of that? Suppose we have two waves like that. One wave is like that, another wave is like that. You know that the part difference between in the two waves is 0. You can see that. It means n is equal to 0, 1, 2. When the part difference is 0, you will get a maximum amplitude like that. And also the part difference is lambda like that. Suppose this equation start here and another equation start from here like that. You can see that here is a lambda, here is a lambda, and another 2 lambda. When you add up, this one is from this one. So here is a lambda, here is 2 lambda, here is a lambda. Now difference between the from here to here is lambda, and you will add up, you will get a maximum amplitude. Now when the cos phi is equal to -1, is a -1, you will get 2n plus 1 pi. Now you can see this equation at this condition. A is equal to a1 square, a2 square is minus 2 a1 a2. You will get a1 minus a2 whole square, a1 minus a2. It means that the resultant amplitude you will get a minimum because the difference of a individual amplitudes. And what is the part difference? The part difference is equal to, you know, delta phi lambda upon a 2 pi, you will write that 2n plus 1 pi lambda divided by 2 pi is cancelled out. You can write n plus half lambda. It means that delta x is equal to n pi plus lambda by 2. When the phase difference will equal to this values, you will get the minimum amplitude, resultant amplitude will be minimum, and also at that condition the path difference will be equal to this one. You can see that here we will, this one is the, you know very well, this condition, you know, you will get in case of maximum amplitude, this one you will get when the path difference will be equal to n lambda. When you add this term lambda by 2, what will happen when you add a lambda by 2 of any n lambda? You can see here like that. Suppose we have a wave like that. This one is the 0, lambda 1, and another wave like that is also 0 and lambda 1. Here you know that lambda 2. Now suppose that we add up in this equation plus lambda by 2. What will happen? 0 will be shifted here and this one is shifted here. And suppose this equation is like that, this will be shifted here. Here is a minus lambda by 2 at a position, yes, suppose that. You will see that when you add up this term, you will get like that, like that. It means that when you add up the path difference in between in term of lambda by 2, so you will get the resultant amplitude will be a minimum. It means that you can write also like that m lambda by 2, where m is only odd number, not even, like plus minus 1, plus minus 3, plus minus 5, so on. But in this case, you can use n is any value, 0, plus minus 1, plus minus 2, and plus minus 3. In this case, you can use only odd values. Now you can see the importance of lambda by 2. The lambda by 2, when will be added in any wave function, they will be shift. Like you can see that they will be shift lambda by 2, and the both equation is out of phase. And when we add up this two equation, you will get a minimum amplitude. Now again, a question in our mind. Suppose we have a two independent light source like that. Here we have a two independent source, here a bulb and another bulb like that. They will, here you can use as a two slit experiment. Sorry, your picture is not clear. Again I am drawing. Suppose that there are two slit experiment. We have a two source, here a bulb, here a bulb, like that. My question is that the two independent source can produce interference like that. Here at a point P, here I will check the resultant intensity at a point P on a screen. Here is two slit. The question is that two independent light source can produce an interference here at a point P. Now answer is that the two independent source do not maintain a constant phase difference, so they cannot produce the interference at a point P, because you know that every source have a lot of atoms and every atom in excited state, when we will come to the ground state, they will emit a photon in 10 to the power minus 8 second. They will emit it. So that both sources are independent, they will emit a light in a 10 to the power minus 8 second. So due to this region, you will not get a constant phase difference between two sources. Suppose any atom from here, they will emit a light at the same time. It means that they will maintain a constant phase is order of 10 to the power minus 8 second. And after that, another atom will be emitted. Thus, wave is order of 10 to the minus 8 second. What will happen? It will happen that the maximum minima of resultant wave will be changed in 10 to the power 8 times in a 1 second. It means that our eyes cannot observe these changes, so that we will get a continuous illuminations of light on the screen. So we can say that two independent sources do not maintain a constant phase difference. So we cannot use two independent sources for interference experiment. So for sustained interference in the light to be observed, the following condition met. What is the following conditions? First condition is known as coherent source. Other condition is known as a monochromatic light. So what is sustained interference? Sustained interference. In a sustained interference in the light wave to be observed, the following two conditions must be met. First condition is coherent source. Coherent source, and another term is known as a monochromatic. Monochromatic. What is the coherent source? The source must be maintain a constant phase difference each other. This type of the source is known as a coherent source. And the monochromatic source, the light wave have a single wavelength. This type of the source is known as monochromatic source. It is known as a constant phase difference, maintained as a constant phase difference between each other, and single wavelength. This is known as a sustained interference. Two conditions must be satisfied. Otherwise, you will not get the sustained interference. In a laboratory, how you will generate a coherent source? First, we will discuss type of the coherent source. There are two types of the coherent source. One is known as temporal coherent source, and other is known as a spatial coherent source. There are two types of the coherent source. One is known as the temporal coherent source and spatial coherent source. We will discuss in detail in the next video lecture what is the temporal coherent source, what is the spatial coherent source. Now, how you will get the coherent source in a lab, production of coherent source by a two method. One is known as division of wavefront, and other is known as a division of amplitude. In the division of wavefront, a lot of example. Here I am given only two example. One is known as a biprism and other is known as a Young double slit. Double slit. All of you know very well. And in this lecture, we will discuss this one. And next video lecture, we will discuss this one. And division of the amplitude, also here, also given in a two example. One is known as the Newton ring, Newton's rings, and other is known as a Michelson interferometer. Now we will discuss in next video lecture both. Here in this video lecture we will discuss the Young double slit. Now we will discuss the Young double slit. Young's double slit. In a Young double slit experiment, the arrangement like that. Suppose here is a source S. This one is the two slit. This one, and this was a screen. The distance between a slit and a screen is called to capital L, and the distance between the two hole is known as a small d. You can see here the one source is divided into two source is S1 and S2. This S1 and S2 is not independent because both sources are divided from a single source. You can say that this source is a coherent source, and we will observe the resultant intensity at a point P on a screen. Suppose this one is the distance y from O at the center of the screen. You can see that suppose this is distance R1 and this is R2. You can say that the path difference by algebraic method is R2 is greater than R1. Here R2 is greater than R1, so we can write R2 minus R1. And now suppose you will here, you can see that R1 is greater than, you can write the path difference R1 is minus to R2. So you can write like that, delta x is a mod of R2 minus R1. That is the path difference by a algebraic method. But you know very well the geometrical method. In a geometrical method, you know very well, we have already discussed in the previous lecture. First, you will choose the shorter path. This one is the shorter path. You will draw a perpendicular from shorter to longer path, a perpendicular. Suppose this angle is theta. You can see that this one is a d sine theta. It means that delta x is equal to d sine theta. When d sine theta is equal to n lambda, you will a constructive interference. And when d sine theta is equal to n plus half lambda, you will get destructive interference. Now you know that this distance is L and this distance is Y. Suppose this angle is theta, also you can write this angle is also a, sorry, we will use another color. This angle also a theta. You can write a tan theta is equal to, you know, y upon a L. If theta is very small, you can convert the tan theta into a sin theta. So you will get the result like that. The sin theta is equal to y by L, and your y is equal to L sin theta. When y is bright, when sin theta is equal to n lambda by d. At that condition, you will get a bright. When y is a dark, you know, the value of the sin theta is equal to L n plus half lambda by d. It means that you will observe a alternative dark and bright fringes on the screen like that. Here you can see that this one is the dark, this one is the bright. Again you will get the dark, bright, like that. So I will stop here, and next video lecture we will discuss the other type of interference experiment. Thank you.